Ziggity zig, back with more Tales from the Ladder. And oh my goodness, it has been a very long time since we have done any kind of Tales from the Ladder, but this is one that was sent in by RuSH. And RuSH is pretty much the head of our groovy little daily life esports club over here, where I can't scroll wheel. Do you think maybe you could? Aha, there we are. So then we pop back out, and then blah, we get some dubstep maneuvers going on over there. We get a little bit of GLHF, but this is gonna be a TVT over here on Frost. Should probably be checking the yeah. As per usual, I cannot remember any of the names before, but this is actually a game. RuSH sent me this one because this was a celebration of it had been one full year since he accidentally went up again, or it might have been near a year, that I cast a game that happened to be a random ladder match between RuSH and here we go, the Art of Bo ... which is actually the Art of Boxing over here in the Spez clan. Man, people need to name things a little bit better than they're actually naming things. So this is me, kind of, yeah, there it is. There's the RuSH talk of I think we've played before, because he remembers that when he was asking me to cast games, he was getting me to cast a number of his games, and one of the games I cast was cast our game. Oh, look at that! And it's on YouTube. There's the shout out from RuSH, and he's, man, what a good memory on the guy, because honestly, RuSH versus the Art of Boxing, I would have been all like, don't know. Meanwhile, here's RuSH checking out what is up here in the top right of Frost, whereas on a 4-player map, of course, you're always looking to see where the first spawn point, not the first, how many spawn points can there be? The spawn point of your base could possibly be. Now, recently getting involved in the daily life esports team has been myself and RuSH starting the entire thing up to begin with, and he's actually been recruiting. So if you want to go to dailylifeesports.com or dailylifeclub.com, dailylifeclub.com, sign up, and you can join our cool Chobo Team League, which I might be doing a few. I might be getting back into StarCraft. I don't mean to frighten anyone and everyone, but that could be what's going on, and I'll be representing ourselves over here in the Silver League. Now here, we're about to do the SCV high five, and whap! Oh, RuSH won the game of chicken there. The Art of Boxing did not get through that one. So I did actually cast 2 tournaments now. The first half of one and the entirety of the other, but I had a co-caster in the name of Apex Gaming, who was a very awesome caster. He's a Masters League player, and he knew all the information. So what you're going to get out of this one is the same fast-paced, ziggity-zig talk of absolute nonsense, but you're not going to be getting the really awesome commentary of the highly intelligent Apex. So you're going to be getting all of the entertainment and none of the facts, because what I kept doing is it was great for me, because I'd sort of say, and here are the barracks popping down right now, and there is the 1, 2, 3 barracks, factory, and starport build, and then I just shut up. And Apex would pop in with a bunch of really interesting knowledge, and I was actually learning quite a bit by the end of it. But at the moment, all I can do really is do the quick play-by-play. For example, this SCV is about to get shot. There. See? My play-by-play is even slightly, it's a little bit predictive. Soothsaying or whatnot. That SCV also got shot. Didn't say it was going to get shot because I couldn't talk quite that fast. Tank there for RuSH, and it still seems to be, yeah, it's going to be a Banshee with Cloak on the way for Art of Boxing, which is a curious maneuver. Apex would have had a lot of things to say on the reason behind going for the Banshee, but I like it because the Banshee can actually skirt straight across this, pretty much exactly how this tank is moving its way in, and this Banshee is not going to be able to take on this medevac. The Banshee does see the medevac crossing the space, and it's actually going to pop it up on the mini-map, but I don't think that Art of Boxing is going to be quite ready for this, where now you're going to see the stim pack is actually on his way, and yes, he does move his units away, but this siege tank is pretty much going to sit here completely unbothered, where, yeah, these could probably make their way in. These units, the Hellions, could make their aim. Cloak was not done by the time the Banshee made its way through, so now Art of Boxing has no choice but to get in here and try to do something about this, where RuSH is actually going to pick up the sieged tank and does not have to siege and unsiege, which is awesome. And now it's just going to micro back into the medevac and then pop it in different places. He can actually put this down at the bottom of the base, and with the vision from the medevac, he can actually see up the hill, but now going up against another Banshee, and the Banshee does actually have Cloak. So at the moment now, RuSH back in his base is going to be building this missile turret, which is really going to help things out. Second missile turret on the way, so you got one right in there at the SCV, at the actual farming location. So this Banshee is kind of now wondering what it's going to do with the rest of its life. It's considering its options. It might be going to college, it might pick up a trade, and trying to decide how on earth it can continue on life without being a complete failure to its father. Its father is a battleship, so really, if your father is a ginormous battleship with a Russian accent, then I think you have no choice but to fail your father. I mean, look at that. Look at that. You got, dude, propellers. Nobody uses propellers anymore. It's the year, I don't know what year it is, but the remainder of these little ground units by ArtOfBoxing are trying to make their way in here, and they are going to get shot at. Problem is we don't see a missile turret until a little bit near the back, so RuSH is actually trying to bait ArtOfBoxing to move in a little closer. There are a number of other users. You get the Marines just slowly trickling their way across. Does get in the way, and of course the orbital scan goes off, and then this siege tank is probably not going to be long for this world, and the remainder of the units by RuSH are going to be enough to tidy that up. So if you look at the army supply, it is way out in front for RuSH, and in fact that's probably conducive to the ArtOfBoxing. Does have the EPM and APM advantage at the moment. RuSH getting out just a Viking now, as the Viking will hopefully be able to do something about some of these Banshees as long as he can get the scan off in time. So really it's just kind of a vision game at the moment, where RuSH did manage to get a couple of missile turrets around the behind. In the... Yeah, over here in the farming part of his base, so the Banshees cannot pick off just SCVs all night and day. Not quite certain how many orbits around its particular sun this planet will do, but you can bet it will be more than 3. We're up to 4 tanks. In fact, this, I think, hero tank is still alive. That one did quite well. There's a scan by RuSH, just as a bit of a forward scan, moving his way in. There's nothing hopping across the bottom, so there's no further interesting things by the ArtOfBoxing, but the Vikings are going to get a little bit of the high ground advantage point, or not just the vision point, so that these tanks, you'd really like to see the tanks move up a little bit closer, I think, whereas the Marines are now just going to move their way up. There are a number of tanks here, but the Vikings, again, getting a little bit of the vision so that the Marines can pick up the siege tank even on the high ground, and now they're just going to retreat back because the Marines did not last all that long, and now baiting out the SCVs, and the SCVs are actually going to do a pretty good job of getting up close to these siege tanks and being able to put some damage on the siege tanks by standing close to them and allowing the splash damage from the siege tanks. So RuSH's own siege tanks actually doing damage to themselves. Now, the worker supply is a little bit lower for ArtOfBoxing. He's probably doing quite a bit of mules and additional units in behind us and workers, but it's still not quite as high as the economy that RuSH has got going on right now. RuSH is actually now expanding to a 3rd base, and ArtOfBoxing, however, taking out the 2nd base here, but I don't know that he's really going to be able to handle much more of this, where the SCVs are slowly picking away at these siege tanks, but now just need to move their way up the hill a little bit more, but these Marines are able to take them out one by one. Now it's Viking against Viking, and the one much healthier siege tank does take out these units here from RuSH, but the army supply is still quite a bit ahead. As you can see, RuSH is building another army just here at the front of his base, and he does tuck tail with this medevac and to head back home. The ArtOfBoxing still trying to get back into this game. The worker supply is a little bit lower, but really at this point it's not that big of a deal, except when you're using a lot of your gas in order to repair your current unit. But when you're down to so many units at the moment, then it probably is a good idea to try to use the gas to repair that unit, and so that it is now up to a full 125 hit points. I don't take enough sips of liquid while I'm doing this. So 3 bases down to 2 with only a few workers there. We'll just have a quick peek and see. Yep, that we had saturation, almost saturation, near saturation, and it's going to be a bit of a doom drop of 2 sieged tanks, 8 Marines. Gonna hop up here, and still not really anything in the way of vision or missile turrets from the ArtOfBoxing. I cannot remember the first game that I cast between these two, but I think... No, I can't even remember who won, so I can't even say things like, well, this is what happened the last time these two met up. Oh, but this is effectively what did happen the last time that RuSH marched into the ArtOfBoxing's base. He is moving a number of the Marines here. The Marines are getting killed right here at the front with the medevacs being right in behind, and in fact just picking up a bunch of kills there. I don't know. He is just picking away at the defense of the ArtOfBoxing, just keeping him guessing, going to the front door, and then possibly up on the ledge there. Might not have been enough to break him that time around, but I think RuSH with the increased macro there is definitely moving his way ahead in the number of units, and is going to be able to do a drop that is just going to do as it's finally actually going to be able to break this, whereas the Art of Boxing is actually just moving back and forth and doing effectively the same build, where we're seeing just the Vikings, the tanks, and the Marines. Nothing too spry of that, and I believe we have stim on both. In fact, no, RuSH is only just getting stim now. There's the armor and the vehicle, just a number of upgrades. There's nothing actually in production right now, except for a couple of supply depots, because the Art of Boxing found himself being a little bit on the supply blocked side. So that's 128 supply to 70, and Art of Boxing just doing a simple drop down the hill, and RuSH got his full army here, which is actually mostly just comparable, especially when you run straight into those siege tanks, and these tanks are not going to siege up fast enough, I don't think, except he does manage to do that and keep himself out of range now. So the Vikings against the Vikings, trying to bait these Vikings into coming a little bit closer, trying to bait just a number of these units over, but Art of Boxing does get off the scan, so he does see where the army of RuSH is. Just going to hope that he doesn't get baited into this. Does pick off a number of Vikings with the Marines, and the Marines are a much more cost-effective unit, as they're only cost of 50 minerals each, and the Vikings, I believe, are, I'm going to go with 150 and 100. Can I remember that much? I don't quite recall. I'll have a look after this game, but there are the air units moving off there to the left, and I don't know why he's doing that with the stim, but in behind the stim he's got absolutely no medevacs, and so the medevacs moved off in this direction, and RuSH is still just trying to move over with a couple of the ground units, and these siege tanks now actually are being able to be picked off, because once you get the vision, the siege tanks can shoot further than their vision, so once you get a little bit of air supremacy, and once the air supremacy does allow your siege tanks to shoot slightly further. So he's getting, now the medevacs are starting to heal up the Marines, pick up the tanks all at the same time, where the Art of Boxing is really running out of options here, and the RuSH is just relentlessly pounding on the front door of the Art of Boxing. There are a couple of tanks still sitting down there, and they're actually getting picked up as well. So it's just going to be a leapfrogging game where we just pick up a couple of tanks, move in a little further, and I'm going to quickly check over here what we've got on the... Where's the damn starport? There's the damn starport. And it is Vikings 150 and 75. I was very, very close. Much closer than I think I should have been. Perhaps there was a little bit of a buff to the cheapness of Vikings, so I can't even admit to being wrong in this case, is what's going on there. There's an enormous trickle of red troops on their way across the map here from RuSH. Still just having taken the third base, and is now going to sit down at the bottom of the ramp and hopefully get a little bit of vision with the Marines and the medevacs that are taking to the air again, but that's going to pick off... Oh, that's actually going to bait out the Marines to take out the air units. And once you've taken out the air units, or once he got baited into the air units, he actually got taken out by the siege tanks that were moving in close. And now here come the Vikings scrambling to get up the hill here. But the problem is that this doom drop is definitely going to be enough to take out the remainder of these troops. The siege tanks do land. Might be a little bit too late, picking up one of the siege tanks, dropping it down at the bottom, where it might be slightly outside of the Marines' range, but I don't think so. Because, actually, yes, that is outside the Marines' range, because RuSH moved this top layer of Marines further down in that direction, and there is one siege tank for the Art of Boxing and one Marine sitting up here as he's actually scanning down the hill to see if he can take out any of these units left. But now we've got the Marines and the siege tank, and they're actually, they're going to take out 3 siege tanks here with the stim. RuSH running in with his own stim, and I think his own stim is definitely going to be enough to take out the remainder of these. He's going to take out the siege tank in the middle of the air. Doesn't quite run in fast enough to do that, and now the siege tank is back far enough, but he does get one shot off, and then the remainder of the Marines on stim coming in with the backup of the medevacs, and that is going to be it. That was a very tight race towards the end of it, and that is the end of that game. I can't believe I used to do this on a regular basis. Leave me a comment down below, send me an email, ziggityzig@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at ziggityzig. Stay tuned.